Hi guys, how are you today? It is fall, and when it's fall, I think of hot cooking. And I am going to do something today in my Cuisinart multi-cooker. And of course the dog starts barking exactly when we start the video. I'm gonna do jambalaya, but it's gonna be a little bit different from what you see on my recipe on Chave User because it is core day. That means clean out the refrigerator. So I go in and I see what I have in the freezer. I go in and I see what I have left in the refrigerator. And I had tons of Zumo sausage. I had grilled chicken that I cooked from the other night. I had some tasso, and if you don't know tasso, we'll talk about it later. But I had all this stuff. So anyway, I am gonna take everything left over from the refrigerator and throw it into one pot. So right now in the multi-cooker, I have the Zumo sausage. And let me show you, I sliced it up very thinly. I used my food processor. I put the disc on, and I did it when the Zumo sausage was still semi-frozen. It was in the refrigerator, in the freezer. So we have about 1.5 pounds, and that aroma has just taken over the kitchen. So we've cooked it now for about 4.5, almost 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and add some onion, some fresh onion that I just chopped, and then I had a whole bag of onion from my freezer. And like I said, I'm trying to go ahead and use what I have in my freezer right now because the holidays are coming up, and when the kids come in, and we've got a bunch of kids coming in, when the kids come in, they always bring tons of stuff to fill up my freezer. And so I never have enough room. So we're gonna go ahead and use this. I've got some ham that I'm gonna use later on for beans and rice, and we're gonna go through and clean out all of the freezer. So right now, I've got my multi-cooker on 375. I used no oil at all because the sausage already has oil in it, and I don't need to add any more. So we're gonna go ahead and get this going. We've got tomatoes, we've got bell pepper, we've got tasso, and let me show you the tasso. This is from Ainsworth Meats in Magnolia. I just dropped a little bit. It is precious. Tasso is a Cajun ham. And this goes back to my Cajun roots from being Louisiana. And in Louisiana, you take everything you have. Of course, I had some tasso because I love Ainsworth's tasso. That was tough to say. And what we do, let's see, keep it going. What we do with tasso down home, tasso is a cured ham basically with all types of spices. And you can smell the aromatic spices. I think I'm not sure, but I think there's nutmeg and a couple other things. So you really pick up this aroma off of this tasso. You can't really substitute anything for tasso. If you have a recipe, like some of my other recipes, there was a recipe from Copeland's that had tasso and chicken. You can't substitute it because it is so good. But in this, you can use anything that you have in your freezer. I don't have alligator, but you could use alligator in it. You can use duck in this. Whatever you have in the refrigerator. Since my chicken is already cooked and it's got some brown on it, I've already chopped it up and it's on the side. We'll put that in a little bit later. So let me go back to this. So I've got a little bit of tasso. I'm not gonna add a lot because tasso is spicy. It also has peppers on it, so you've gotta be real careful. We're gonna use the Trinity. We're gonna use onion, we're going to use bell pepper, and we're gonna use celery. That's the Trinity that we always use in Cajun cooking. A lot of my roots come from the Cajuns down in Houma, Terrebonne Parish, Thibodaux. I also have the Cajun side on my mother's side that comes from New Orleans. And so we've got a whole group of people coming in and helping and showing us how to cook. My Aunt Robbie would cook this stuff and it was just wonderful. And she used anything she had in her freezer because that's freezer and refrigerator. That's how we did it. So we've got the onions, They're softening up. I'm gonna go ahead and add the celery. Now, same thing with my celery. I had some celery I did in the freezer. What I always like to do is do little bags of my vegetables and have them ready. So if it's one of those nights that I'm going, oh my God, what am I gonna cook? Oh, I've got to chop all this stuff up. No, I don't have to chop it up because it's already in the freezer. So it's always good if you go out and get some extra celery and that type of thing. You just go into your freezer, pull it out, and you can microwave it a minute and you're good to go. The thing about this jambalaya today, I found some poblanos. Oh yeah. So we've got some poblanos going into it, and that is chopped up right here. So we're gonna go ahead and wait on that. As I said, I've got oh, I forgot, I have some jalapeno too. So that's gonna go in, and then I've got chopped up parsley. And we're gonna go ahead and add some more celery that I had from the freezer. Getting all these freezer bags out of there. When I cook rice, I always cook extra. And that way, it will get me through the week with, say, some meals that I want to make later on. So if I want to make a beef stew or a beef bourguignon and I want to use it with rice, I will make a large container of rice. My rice is already done. It is done. I did not overcook it. I like to use, and I know it's not traditional Louisiana, I like to use the Uncle Ben's. And so I cook it just right till it's cooked and then take it off. I cheated also on this rice. Instead of doing regular rice and steaming it or putting it in a pot and letting it cook for, letting it steam for 20 minutes, what I did, I boiled it. When you boil it, it changes, it doesn't have the same nutrient value. So I boiled it, I cheated, but you're gonna have super nutrient value with all of this. So that's gonna be sitting on the side. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to put the tomatoes in. I want the tomatoes to cook down a little bit. So we've already had the celery, we've already had the onion, so we want the tomatoes to cook down a little bit. And we'll stir that in. Like I said, it's at 375. I might even kick it up a little bit to 400 because I want to get through this with you. So this smells good. I also have chicken stock, I have bay leaves, I have Louisiana hot sauce, and as I said, I have my chicken over there cut up. And I'm gonna let this cook down for a few minutes and we'll be right back. I wanted to come back on and talk to you a little bit about the different types of jambalayas. This jambalaya is going to be not as red. So what that means, a lot of people do a red jambalaya with tomato paste and lots of paprika and that type of thing. This is going to have tomatoes. As you can see, they're cooking down. So we've already been cooking about 3 minutes. It's gonna have tomatoes, but it's not going to have an overly red base. What I want is the chicken, I'm gonna put chicken stock in it. It's gonna have more of a meaty base. So with the sausage and the chicken and the tasso and all of that, it is not gonna be a red jambalaya, and I am not gonna put any more red sauce into this. So when you go out to different places, especially if you go to South Louisiana or you go to New Orleans, everybody, every family, just like an Italian family, has a different way to make jambalaya. So just know that and be cognizant of it because everybody cooks differently. As I said, mine will have tomato in it. Lots of times I'll use Rotel, but I had some beautiful fresh tomatoes that I wanted to use before they were too ripe. And so I used them in this. I'm gonna go ahead and add, right now, it's cooking pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and add the bell pepper and the tasso. We'll put that in there, and then we are going to add the jalapeno, And while we were on break there for a few minutes, I went in and I visited with Mark, and Mark goes, I heard what you're putting in. And I said, well, I didn't put the Rotel in. Rotel always kicks it up. Now, your sausage, the Zumo sausage, I use the Party Time in this because I had it. I can use andouille in it too, but that will definitely kick it up. We're going to let this cook, and we're going to take about a 10-minute break so we can get these vegetables cooked, and we'll be back. One more thing, I do want to add the garlic now. There it goes. And it is about 1.5 tablespoons. Okay, we're back. We've been cooking about 10 to 12 minutes on 400 degrees. And the vegetables have basically sweat out some juice. So we've got liquid in here. We're going to go ahead at this point in time. Remember, we added also the garlic on that last round. We're gonna go ahead and add the chicken. As you can see, the chicken was grilled. It's about a chicken breast and a half. And it's got that a little bit of char on it, so that just adds another flavor profile. Think about all the layers that we're putting into this meal tonight. We've got beautiful vegetables. We're gonna do the herbs coming up, and there are so many flavor profiles. Adding that tasso really kicked it up a notch. And like I said, you can add ham. You can go in and pick out anything that you have in your freezer and look at it, see if it's a protein. Some people will take little pieces of fish. Some people will put shrimp in here. I wouldn't waste large 2125s. That's the size, shrimp size. In this, I might use a little salad shrimp or something like that, because it's nice to always have something in one of the bites when you do this. Now, if we go back to true Cajun cuisine, true cuisine from down the bayou, this came about because people didn't have a lot. And so they put whatever they had into the pot. And I can remember my dad cooking duck gumbo, and you know, they would use anything. And I have several old time Cajun cookbooks that really go into the history. One of the best is the Times Picayune cookbook, and mine is from like 40 years ago. And it really goes into a lot about the history and the heritage, the difference between Cajun and Creole. There is a difference. So it would be a good thing if you like this type of cuisine to read up on it and find out about it. We're gonna go ahead and start adding some seasonings here. And I'm gonna use Italian. Italian is a combination of several different things. I'm just gonna throw some in. And this is the kind of meal, kind of dish that you really don't measure. So you'll notice I am using the large containers from Sam's. I go through about one of these every month. So we cook a lot. And so I'm gonna put oregano in there. We made some pizza sauce the other night. And of course, what do you use? You use oregano. Oregano is instrumental in pizza sauce. We'll put that here. And we're gonna do thyme. And thyme always brings out the flavor in meats. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in there. We've always talked about the differences in pepper. Now, you know, I've got a plethora of peppers in here. I mean, we've got poblano, we've got jalapeno, we've got peppers from the sausage, peppers from the tasso. We're going to add a little bit of black pepper because that's another flavor profile. It's different. White peppers taste a little bit different. If you've ever had black pepper and white pepper side by side, after you clear your palate, you'll know that there is a bit of a difference. We're gonna go ahead and add a couple bay leaves. I have some small bay leaves. I grew bay leaves in the woodlands when we lived there, and now I've got a bay leaf plant outside if my gardener does not kill it, which he's done to some of my other herbs and plants. So I've got this stirred in and it looks gorgeous. and the flavor, I can pick up notes of that tasso as the steam comes off of the meat. Unbelievable. I've chopped up some parsley, and it's not chopped up really finely, but it's good. One thing that the Cajuns did, and that I still do, I truly believe in using the stems to chop up. Your celery, we use the celery leaves. It has as much flavor. You're wasting that type of thing if you're throwing it out. If you're home cooking, it's perfect. Now, if you're cooking for a restaurant, you may want to get rid of it because it's just one of those kind of things, okay, it doesn't look good or whatever. But think about your home cooking. You can save so much money by not being wasteful, by using those stems and pieces. I was growing celery this past year, and I'd go out and cut it, and we'd use all of it. Same thing, I've got fennel growing outside. You take the stems and pieces, and you use those stems and pieces. You can make a nice fennel soup by using some of the stems, and you can also use the tops of them. So we've got this going, and we're gonna let it go a few more minutes, and then in fact, no, we'll go ahead and do it right now. I have about 2 cups of stock. I don't think I'm gonna need all of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and add about a cup right now and let that heat up. So we'll come back to you after about another 5 or 10 minutes. We'll see you in a few. Okay guys, so we're back with the last little bit of what we're going to do. Let me explain a couple things. There are several ways to do this, and since I've already got my rice cooked, I am not going to cook the rice totally in the jambalaya. So some people will go ahead and add raw rice to their jambalaya. But since I am being frugal and using what I have in my refrigerator, I am going to use cooked rice, which means I will not stir this as much and I will not let it cook as long. I'm going to add right now a couple hits of Tabasco. That also means there's another flavor profile, another pepper going in there. So if you've never visited the McElhenney Tabasco factory, that's a nice little trip. I know one of the hurricanes damaged it a little bit, but it was a great time. So anyway, it's very down home. I'm gonna go ahead and take my rice now. Let me take this and turn it so you can see. Everything is nice. The vegetables still have a little bit of bite to them, especially the celery. The onions, of course, are all cooked down. Everything is melding. All those flavors are melding. We're gonna go ahead and toss in my rice. I've got about 4 cups of rice, and I'm gonna be heavy on the meats and that type of thing. Down home, I would not have as much meat and vegetables, but I like my jambalaya filled with good stuff. I also like, as you've heard in my videos before, I like texture. So I'm gonna stir this to get it incorporated, and I really do think I've got another cup of stock, but I don't think I'm gonna need to use it because there was enough liquid from the vegetables. And as I said before, it is not one of these things where you've gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta have this. You can kind of go by the seat of your pants, if you need to, and mix it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, if you're having company, you might want to follow a recipe to the T. Paul Prudhomme has a really good recipe. Of course, Emerald has good recipes. You can go in and take a look. Both of them were at Commander's Palace, so anything that comes out of Commander's Palace is going to be good. You know that. The liquid that we have in there, and it's not a terribly large amount, that is going to be absorbed into the rice. I'm going to give this a taste really quickly to see if there's any seasonings. As you noted, I'm not putting salt in it. My stock has some salt, and also the tasso and the meats have salt. So let's give this a little bit of taste. Oh man, that's gonna be right on. It might need a tad bit of salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of sea salt and just a tiny bit. I don't wanna over salt, and put that in. Now, with the multi-cooker, this is the nice thing about this. So it's been cooking at 400. I'm gonna turn it off and then turn it back on to low, slow. And I'm gonna let that rice absorb that liquid. And this is about, let's see, I think I've got it all incorporated. This is pretty much the end of my stirring because I've got it all mixed and incorporated. We're gonna let those flavors meld and just join each other. And then by later on this evening, we are going to have a fabulous jambalaya that you might wanna serve with a crusty French bread, French garlic bread, and a nice cold beer, maybe. So, and watch the Saints. So, God bless all of you. Thank you for visiting while I'm cooking my clean out the refrigerator jambalaya. We'll catch you later.